What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to JJD TV. I'm your host Josh, and we are back for another episode of our Canadian Men's National Team Abroad series. This week's update is going to be from March 4th until March 7th. I'm recording right now in the afternoon of March 7th. I had to wait for the Besiktas boys to finish up their game as well as Samuel Adekugbe, so I'm really excited for this one. I am doing things a little bit differently for the MLS just because of your guys' feedback, so let me know again what you guys think of it, but I'll get into that a little bit more when we address the MLS. But with that being said, guys, hope you guys are excited for another episode. Be sure to drop a like, be sure to drop a sub, and let's get in the update now. Alright guys, like we always do, we start in England and we're going to head to the championship with the usual suspect, and maybe I should start switching things up, but we are going to start with Junior Hoilett. And over the weekend, Junior Hoilett started once again as a left attacking mid in that 4-2-3-1 system. He played 79 minutes with an 89% pass completion. He had 33 touches on the ball, didn't create a single shot for himself as Reading lost once again 1-0 to Millwall to sit 21st in the table with a 10-5-20 record on 29 points, only 5 points off of 22nd place, relegation bound Derby County. And if you guys remember, Derby County got hit with that massive point deduction. So things right now aren't looking too good for Reading. Hoilett is playing relatively decent. He's got his moments. He's chipped in here and there, but Reading are just going on a downward spiral. And at this current moment, in my opinion, they're gonna have a real problem with survival, because I just don't think this team has got it in them right now. They're lacking confidence. But again, we're hoping that Hoilett can just find a way to build his team up, because a lot of the creativity has flown through him this season, and we'll have to wait and see how he can do. Moving along to Sheffield United, it was good to see Daniel Jebbison getting back on the pitch, as he hasn't been featuring a lot lately. This time he was substituted. He was substituted on relatively early in the 67th minute as Sheffield United got a draw against Forest 1-1. And with that result, they sit 7th in the table with a 15-9-10 record. It was a decent little outing there for Jebbison. Not a crazy amount of things that he was able to do, but it's still good to see him getting a little bit more minutes. On the flip side of things for Larea, still yet to feature. And as I'm recording right now, they're taking on Forest, so potentially he's going to step on the pitch for Forest, but right now he is not. And with that result for Forest, after that 1-1 draw, they sit 9th in the table with a 14-10-10 record. Moving along now to Germany, we're going to take a look at Scott Kennedy, whose side was in action over the weekend. And for Kennedy, he started in that match and played all 90 minutes as a center back in a 4-2-3-1 system. Kennedy had 53 touches on the ball, 6 recoveries, 1 interception. He played out of the back quite a bit, but really struggled on his long balls and distribution throughout the match. But other than that, was relatively solid. As unfortunately for Jan Regensburg, they lost 1-0 as they sit 10th in the table with a 9-5-11 record. Moving along to France now, we're going to take a look at Jonathan David, who, as us Canadians out here, can finally breathe, because he's broken it. His duck is over. He's ended his scoreless streak, as over the weekend, Jonathan David started and played 83 minutes as a striker in that usual 4-4-2 system. He had 25 touches, 5 shots, and 89% pass completion, and he scored a goal to end his drought. It was a nice little 1-2 with Renato Sanchez and a calm, composed finish, one you'd expect of David's caliber, which then puts Lille with a 4-0 win and puts them up to an 11-9-7 record on 42 points, 7th place in the table, going into a big match against Chelsea for that second leg of the Champions League. So really good to see David pick up a little bit of motivation and a little bit of energy getting that goal going into the Champions League, and then of course the end of the World Cup qualifiers. David wasn't the only one who had a big result over the weekend, as a 6-point relegation thriller between Troyes and Bordeaux was at stage. Our boy Ugbo started that match. He played 64 minutes as a striker in a 3-4-3 system as Troyes won 2-0 over Bordeaux. Ugbo was decent throughout the match. He didn't do that great on his passing percentage with a 62%, but he had 26 touches on the ball. He had 3 shots, and with that win, that puts Troyes up to now to 16th in the table with a 6-7-14 records on 25 points. 3 points now off the bottom of the basement in Ligue 1, which is Bordeaux. Massive statement win for Troyes, and it's going to give them a real shot at surviving relegation this season. Moving along to the Netherlands now, we're going to take a look at Brym, one of the guys I've really enjoyed covering this season, and this streak just keeps rolling on. It's the same story each and every week. You come here, but you guys are getting used to it by now, because once again, Brym did start. He played 89 minutes as that right wing in that 3-4-3 system. Eindhoven had a big 2-1 victory, as well as Brym was lively throughout the match, as he's continuously been. He scored a goal as well, the opening goal of the match, as Eindhoven now sit 4th in the table with a 16-5-7 record. They've won 7 matches in a row, and they're really giving themselves a massive opportunity for automatic promotion. It's still a bit of a step away, but the way that this team is playing right now, there's no reason to think that they couldn't pull off some type of miracle, but regardless, gives them huge motivation going into a potential promotion playoff. Moving along to Belgium now, we're going to take a look at Tajon Buchanan, who's been racking up the minutes for Club Brugge. He started once again and played all 90 minutes as a left wing back in a 3-5-2 system. He had a 91% pass completion record. He only had one shot for himself on 60 touches, but was still active throughout the match. The only downside for Tajon's game was he was dispossessed 4 times, but Club Brugge still won 5-0 as they sit second in the table with a 17-9-4 record. Moving along to Greece now, guys, we're going to take a look at Derek Cornelius, who played in his final match of the season in what was a really impressive season for Derek Cornelius. He had 22 total starts and 23 total appearances in the league this season, and he went out once again starting and playing all 90 minutes as a center back in a 4-2-3-1 system, as Panathinaikos won 2-1 to finish their season on a high with a 9-5-12 record to finish 9th in the table. Cornelius in that match on the 90th minute scored the match-winning goal to get his second goal of the season, really finish his season on a high. It was a great move for him all around and a really impressive performance and season for Panathinaikos in my opinion. Really good to seeing Cornelius going on up to the World Cup qualifiers. Moving along to Scotland now, as there hasn't been a ton of players to touch on it because most have just barely featured or not enough to really want to focus on, but Paton is the lone soldier we're going to be focused on today in the Scottish League, and it was a really good match once again and a good performance as Paton started and played all 90 minutes as a center attacking mid in a 4-2-3-1 system as Ross County won 1-0 over St. Mirren. Paton has 46 touches on the ball, a 78% pass completion, and 3 key passes. And with that result, Ross County now move up to 6th in the table with a 9-9-12 record, winning 3 matches in a row. This was the team that one place was dead last in the table. To see them move up to 6th place is super, super impressive, and getting Paton these minutes is once again pretty interesting to see if Herdman's going to get notice on him and potentially call him up for the upcoming windows. Moving along to Serbia now, we're going to do a pit stop in on Milan Borjan, who once again started and went all 90 for Red Stars. They won 5-0, business as usual. They sit second in the table right now with a 22-3-1 record on 69 points, 2 points off of Partizan at top of the table with 71 points. It's just business as usual. Red Star Partizan, this is going to be a very good end of the season, see who's going to be able to get the title. But Borjan and company get the results coming, and they're going to really put pressure on to see if anyone can slip up. Because if one of the sides do, the other one will be walking home with the title this season. All right, guys, we're moving on now to Stefan Mitrovic and his side, Rudnicki. And this is an interesting one because literally last week I talked about them getting sucked in to a relegation battle. They picked up 2 impressive performances, 6 points out of 6 in their last 2 matches, and all of a sudden, they're up to 4th place. So it's a very, very tight league right now in Serbia. But this last match that Steph played was an impressive one as Mitrovic went all 90 minutes as a left wing in a 4-3-3 system. Rudnicki won 1-0 and Steph scored the only goal. A nice composed finish as well as they now, like I mentioned, sit 4th in the table with an 8-12-6 record. And the point difference between 4th and 13th in the table, 13th being a relegation place, is only 8 points. Very tight league. Very exciting to see Steph get these minutes to get the goal as well. I know that there's a couple Mitrovics in the comment sections to get in there, so hopefully we'll show them some love this week as well. As a really impressive performance for Steph once again. Moving along to Switzerland now, we're going to take a look at Liam Millar, and boy did our boy impress over the weekend. Millar started and he went all 90 minutes as a left mid in that usual 4-1-4-1 system. Millar had 49 touches, 2 shots, a 70% pass completion, but was very dangerous throughout the match, showing off some incredible footwork leading up to the first goal of the match, walking through at least 3 different players before the ball found the back of the net. He picked up an assist on that goal as well, as Basel won 2-0 to move up to 3rd in the table with an 11-11-3 record on 44 points. Really impressive. Again, we talk about moves that can really make a player or break a player, and this move to Switzerland in Basel has been great for Millar. And to see this confidence, to see that these type of drives, it's really impressive. It's getting a lot of Canadian national team fans excited and eager to see if he can replicate that type of form for Canada. Moving along now to Turkey to take a look at the Besiktas boys, whose side just completed their match against Istanbul Başakşehir. I had to wait till that game was done to get this one out because we had a couple of our big guys playing in Turkey. But this match was a very interesting one and a very exciting one at that. Hutch did start in it. He played as a usual CDM in the 4-2-3-1 system. And wait till you guys hear some of the stats that the 39-year-old glass of wine continually puts up. As in the 90 minutes that Hutch played, he had 109 touches, the most touches that I've ever talked about here on the channel. He had a 94% pass completion record on top of that as well. He had 11 recoveries, 3 interceptions, and just again, an overall classy performance, helping Besiktas get a 2-2 draw over Istanbul Başakşehir to sit 7th in the table with a 12-9 9-7 record. Larin did feature late in that match, getting substituted on in the 87th minute, but he did not do too much in that match, so we're not going to touch on it too much. But I just want to focus on some of those stats because they're just absolutely incredible for Atiba. He's Benjamin Button. That's all I got to say. Really good performance once again. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get the 3 points, but they are still in the fight for the Europa League. Moving along now to take a look at Samuel Adekugbe, who started once again as a left back in a 4-2-3-1 system. As Hatayspor drew 2-2. It was a decent game once again by Adekugbe. Not one of his finest, but still one of the really good ones considering that he's just that consistent of a player. He had 5 recoveries in the match, 8 clearances, 68 touches, 79% pass completion. With that result, Hatayspor sit 8th in the table with a 13-4-11 record. Adekugbe, whether he's shining or even just being involved in the game, seems to always have a ton of touches and decent passing as well. Very composed player and a decent match once again. All right, guys, we're moving along to the MLS right now, our last stop. And I asked you guys last week, and if you guys didn't answer yet, please put it in the comments because I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I want to do this. But I am going to include TFC, the Vancouver Whitecaps, and Montreal as abroad teams. We're going to assume that because they play in the MLS, they're counted. And I'm mostly going to try to focus on players now that have a shot at the national team. So I don't believe I'm going to touch on Scott Arfield anymore, and players who have kind of found their way out, like Jay Chapman as well, who's probably not going to get called up to the national team anytime soon, but of course things can change. But for right now, I'm going to try to do it as you're about to see for the MLS. And let me know if you guys like it, because once the summertime comes and a lot of the European leagues close down, I'm going to heavily focus on our Canadians playing in the MLS, because that'll keep this series going up until the next start of the European season. We're going to start with Raheem Edwards with LA Galaxy, a move that is looking to be a stroke of genius. The man didn't want to leave California, and he made the right decision, as once again, he started and went 90 minutes as a left back in a 4-4-2 system. Edwards had an 87% pass completion, 69 touches, 6 recoveries, 2 successful dribbles, and he picked up an assist with the man of the match performance as LA won 1-0 over Charlotte to sit second in the West with a 2-0-0 record. Shout out to Filippo, who actually went to that match. He did a vlog on it, so if you want to check it out, Tactical Manager TV, shout out to Filippo. But yeah, a really impressive performance once again from Edwards, and he's really showing that there's maybe possibility. If that left-hand side wasn't already so stacked for the Canadian men's national team, Edwards is starting to sniff his way in. I'm very curious if one of these games is going to catch Herdman's attention. Sticking with Los Angeles, we're going to move over to LAFC and take a look at Maxime Crepeau, who started in net, played all 90 minutes, making 3 saves. He was 12 for 12 on accurate passes as LAFC drew 1-1 to Portland. They scored a late 90th minute equalizer, and with that result, LAFC sit third in the West with a 1-1-0 record. Heading on over to the Rapids now, we're going to take a look at Marc-Anthony Kaye, who started and played 63 minutes as a center mid in a 3-4-3 system. Kaye had a 79% pass completion record, 9 recoveries, 45 touches as the Rapids beat Atlanta United 3-0 to move up to 6th in the West with a 1-0-1 record. Really big result considering all things. That opener, it looked like it was going to be a really long season for the Rapids, but this was a statement win over a team that is supposed to do relatively well this year, and Sebastian Salazar gave a long shot that they may win MLS Cup just as a fun prediction. So it's Atlanta United side is not one to take lightly. So it's a big result there, and hopefully better things ahead as well for Marc-Anthony Kaye and his company. Moving along now to the Vancouver Whitecaps, we're going to focus on 3 of their players who featured over the weekend. Vancouver Whitecaps lined up in their 3-4-1-2 system. Hasel started in net, left back was Gutierrez, and at striker was Lucas Cavallini. And the one player that I'm mainly going to focus on, because the match finished 0-0, and it mainly finished 0-0 because Hasel was a rock in net. He finished with the man of the match performance, a couple incredible saves, and it's really showing that he is good enough, and he was ready to step up and take over from Maxime Crepeau. And with that result now for the Caps, they sit with a 0-1-1 record, 13th in the West. Moving along now to TFC, we're going to focus on 4 of the Canadians who featured in this match. They started in a 4-2-3-1 system, and if you take a look at this team, you know where the weaknesses are, and it's the fullback positions, mainly because, in my opinion, these are wingers having to drop back and play right now. They didn't go out and they didn't spend in the fullback position. It's going to be a bit of a transition period. It's a little fragile over this match, but those players respectively at right back is Marshall Rudy, left back is Jacob Schaffelberg. We also had Nelson starting up on the wing and Jonathan Osorio playing as an 8/CDM in that 4-2-3-1 system. And with the result, TFC lost 4-1 to New York Red Bulls to sit with a 0-1-1 record, 10th in the East. A little bit of growing pains will happen with this TFC side. I think Marshall Rudy, in my opinion, can play as a right back, wing back. I prefer him a little bit further up the pitch, or at least playing at wing back. But I still have serious questions about Jacob Schaffenberg. I personally don't like seeing him play that far deep, especially not as an actual fullback. If this TFC side want to survive, I think they're going to have to look at a bit of a change in shape to try to get the best out of these players. Maybe a 3-4-3, get Schaffenberg as a left wing back, get Marshall Rudy as a right wing back. I think you'll see a lot more going forward, and certainly having that coverage in the back end will help them a lot. But regardless, learning opportunities here for some of these young Canadians, but the fact that they're playing, the fact that they're featuring is really good to see out of the TFC side. Moving on now, guys, to our last club. We're going to focus on the last 3 Canadians. They're going to be for CF Montreal in their 3-4-2-1 system they love to play. It's going to be Breza, who started in net, outside right center back Alistair Johnson, and outside left center back Kamal Millar. All relatively decent matches, but unfortunately it was another frustrating result for CF Montreal as they lost to the Philadelphia Union 2-1, and they now sit with a 0-2 record, 12th in the East. They were up 1-0. They scored a goal to make it 2-0. Things looked pretty. The goal was disallowed, and very quickly after, Philadelphia hit with 2. Very frustrating, but regardless, out of the 3 Canadian teams, there's a lot of Canadian players playing. I'm going to do my best to try to cover them the best way I can without making this episode 40 minutes long. But like I said, once the European leagues end, it's going to be a huge opportunity to cover these teams a lot more in-depthly over the summertime, guys. So again, let me know in the comments below what you thought, how you want me to try to get the MLS clubs in, because there's a lot of Canadian players in. I was thinking of maybe doing something along the lines of just covering 15 players per episode, just to, again, for the time value and try to make sure that everything is covered relatively properly and also in a decent time manner. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And if, as always, if you enjoy this, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub as well, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers, friends.